Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And just a quick reminder before we get started, I write an article on Marvel Snap Zone every day if you're interested. We've got 4 amazing decks for you today, including a low CL, a 3K CL, a player who doesn't even have a high school degree, or Mystique in Marvel Snap, who peaked at rank 3 with this brand new fantastic deck. But we're going to kick it off with the wildest deck we featured quite a while. And reminder, yesterday we featured a Bullseye Phoenix Force, so me calling this the wildest deck is really saying something. This is a Bullseye Clog from Mr. ELA. This list is completely insane, but it works. Or at least it works reasonably well. It works well enough. It is a deck that wins a reasonable number of games on Marvel Snap. This is not going to be the winningest deck in this video, but it is among the coolest that we featured in quite some time. This deck has a lot of synergies and a lot of strategy that work where cards work together. You can find Mr. ELA at twitter.com/ELA. There are 5 spaces between the E and LA if you're looking for him. This deck needs High Evo, Ajax, Mockingbird, and Bullseye. Those 4 cards are non-negotiable. It's not the most high series cards in the world, but it is quite a few. Kate Bishop is important, but not pivotal. We can go Mirage or Iron Patriot, and if you don't have Mobius, you go Cyclops. So turn 1, you want Hood or Squirrel Girl. Turn 2 is Kate, or you can play one of the 1-drops, or 2 of the 1-drops. If you played Hood, you can go Squirrel Girl and Demon. Turn 3, you want Bullseye over Debris, generally speaking, with the caveat that if you didn't see Squirrel Girl, you can play Debris in order to be able to get out Mockingbird on turn 4. You can also Mobius if it's going to hard counter something, like if they played an Iron Patriot already, if they played a Ravonna already, Mobius could be game winning at that point. Turn 4, you want Bullseye or Debris. You can also Falcon already if you played a bunch of 1s and Bullseye is already out, just to get ready to chuck them at the opponent. You can drop a Mockingbird reasonably often on this turn with either a Squirrel Girl or a Debris, and if you can, that's a really powerful play as well. Turn 5, Hazmat or Falcon plus trigger Bullseye. If you are going to Hazmat, you can also, Hazmat on turn 4 and then play Abomination on turn 5 and then Falcon those 1-drops back. That works just fine as well. The sort of tension here is that, and let's take a look here, is that you want cards on the board with negative power in order to play Abomination. You want cards on the board that are generated in order to play Mockingbird, but you also want to return them to hand to throw them at the opponent for Bullseye/Ajax. So there is some tension there. It'll take a little bit of practice to get that right. Turn 5, Hazmat or Falcon plus trigger Bullseye. Turn 6, you play Ajax and Hazmat, you play Ajax and Abomination, etc., etc. And then you win because you just dropped stupidly huge cards. Again, you will have to practice in order to learn how to get the big cards out you want without like sort of shooting yourself in the foot. And once in a while, you are going to mess that up as you learn, but it is a very powerful list. Next up, 3KCL, top 10. Cool. This list is really, really fun, and I cannot urge you to give it a try enough. I know multiple other people have been trying it. ELA often builds very cool lists that are fairly distinct. Before we get to that next list, if you would like all of the distinct lists in Marvel Snap, we cover at least 3 decks, and honestly, almost every day 4 decks here on this channel. So if you want the most Marvel Snap decks, hit that sub button as we do our best to bring you the best and most consistent Marvel Snap content every single day. All you have to do is click that sub button at the bottom right of the screen, that little YouTube looking button. That's a sub button. Hit it and be here every day for Marvel Snap videos, streams, bundle reviews, tier lists, everything you could possibly need for the game. We are also hosting a tournament. If you are a busy adult or just someone who doesn't have a lot of time in whatever fashion, or you love Marvel Snap and would like to play in a competitive setting, there is nothing like competitive Marvel Snap. We have 1 game a week for this tournament. You are in a pod of about 30 people. The winners of that pod are then put into a winners pod for $400 in prizes. Each pod winner gets a free season pass. It is an incredible deal. Check it out by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/snapjudgments, or if you have questions or want the steps for how to do this, join the Discord linked in the description to this video. Next up, we have Dark Razer's 2 hands. Get it? Moon Girl gives you double hands and you have Victoria hand. Yeah, I'm very clever sometimes. Dark Razer created this list. It's really cool. He is a 3000 CL player who honestly just sort of got like the right cards for this. Copycat, one of the best cards in the game, right? Iron Patriot, Victoria hand, Hawkeye, that's 1 week of stuff, and then Frigga, and that's the high series stuff in this list, and some of it's even replaceable. So a very impressive list that we'll go over in exceedingly great detail right now. So Dark Razer is 16 and should be streaming relatively soon at twitch.tv/dark_Razer if you want to check him out. This is clearly a Marvel Snap prodigy, much like Zunes, the previous #1 player of a couple previous seasons at this point. This deck needs Victoria Hand and Frigga. Those are the only two required cards. If you don't have Frigga and would really like to try Moonstone, you can also add Quinjet and maybe get something going, but that's untested. So if you feel like going for it, go for it. Kate and Iron Patriot can be Mirage or Valentina. You can also try any other smaller generated cards. My working assumption, however, is that if you got Victoria Hand, you also got Kate Bishop. If you didn't, what are we doing here? But my working assumption is if you got Victoria Hand, you also got Kate Bishop. Copycat is really good here, particularly like sometimes it's just completely broken if you get Moon Girl. So Copycat is a very, very, very good card. It could, however, be Juggernaut, Rocket, and Groot, so on. You sort of want a card that goes well with Iron Patriot in that spot. Gladiator would make some sense. Negasonic might make sense as well. So we're looking at cards along those lines. Please note, does this deck want Moonstone? Maybe. This is a low CL player, though. He doesn't own Moonstone. He doesn't own Mystique. These are cards that are not in the collection, so while they might fit, they're not even possibilities here. I am personally considering trying this with Moonstone if I can figure out what the exact right cut is. I'm not sure if I really want to mess with the alchemy. However, if you'd like to see me play this list today at 3:30 p.m. ish Eastern, unless something major comes up, I should be streaming both on YouTube and Twitch, twitch.tv/PulseGlazer, and I'm going to start with this list. So let's go card by card. Maria Hill is generate a card generation card. That card is obviously very good with Victoria Hand. Twos are extraordinarily strong as a thing to generate, especially because with Quinjet they cost 1. You can get a second Victoria Hand. You can get Kate Bishop, Iron Patriot, obviously Collector, etc. All these things work together. You can get a card that's in the list. You can get a card like Mirage or Shadow King that can win you a game as a surprise. Maria Hill is incredible for that exact value proposition. Quinjet is here because it discounts Maria Hill card. It does not discount Kate Bishop cards, obviously, right? But it offers a discount to the Iron Patriot card, which is particularly powerful if you manage to well, it's powerful either way, but especially powerful if you manage to miss getting the Iron Patriot trigger. It does trigger on both Agent Coulson cards and basically everything you generate through Moon Girl. So Quinjet has an abundance of targets here. Quinjet, to me, is the most underrated card in Victoria Hand shells. She's not in many of them, and I truly believe she should be. Collector is just a nice scaler. He doesn't get huge in this list, but he gets big enough. Well, I guess with Moon Girl he can get huge, right? But if you go Collector early and then you play Moon Girl, you've probably got like a 2-5, 2-6. You play Kate Bishop, you've got a 2-7, 2-8. That's stats worth having, right? Collector is just big, good numbers. Iron Patriot is obviously one of the best 2-drops in the game. I would argue Iron Patriot is the best generic 2-drop in the game. The best if I need a thing to do on turn 2 and I want to play a card, I want that card to be Iron Patriot as a general rule. Iron Patriot's discounted card is obviously benefiting from Quinjet and Victoria Hand, but the other thing that discounted card does is it's an amazing target for either Frigga or Moon Girl. If you can get 2 or 3 free, let's just say a random 4-drop, Jessica Jones's, that's obviously going to be an absurdly strong value proposition. That is the power of Iron Patriot with this particular list. Kate goes with Victoria Hand. She's cheap. She gives you powerful cards to play Victoria Hand. If you play 2 Victoria Hands, getting arrows that are stupidly big and potentially lane winning is huge. The Acid Arrow remains one of the most frustratingly powerful cards in Marvel Snap. Thus, the card is here, obviously beyond the synergies with Collector. There are times when you'll Frigga an arrow, but it's fairly rare, and you probably have 2 Victoria Hands already at that point, right? Victoria Hand is an S tier card. She's built numerous tier 1 decks. Tomorrow morning, the podcast will release here on this channel, and it is with Den of Marvel Snap Zone, where we go over the top 10 decks of Marvel Snap. And let's just say Frigga list ended up in the top 10. Frigga list. Victoria Hand list ended up in the top 10. Victoria Hand is one of the very best Marvel Snap cards in the game, period. Full stop. She's here. She like almost every card either benefits her directly or tangentially, except I guess Copycat, right? You want to generate cards, so that benefits Devil Dinosaur and Collector. Which is, and you want to generate cards because of Victoria Hand, right? Maria Hill, the cards that are generated are cheaper because of Quinjet. Maria Hill, Coulson, Frigga, Moon Girl, Iron Patriot, Kate all generate cards. Copycat doesn't have direct synergy, it's just strong. And then the other card is Rogue. And you know what? Part of what makes Rogue so strong is it steals Victoria hands from opponents. It also steals Morbius's and some other stuff. But like part of it is just that it takes Victoria hands from opponents. It takes nulls. It takes Iron Mans and makes them yours, which is a huge, insane endgame lane swinger. After that, we've got Rogue, which we sort of just talked about. Agent Coulson is a card that I've been seeing less and less in Victoria hand lists, but hey, low CL and just powerful, right? This is fairly likely to be the Moonstone spot if push comes to shove, but it's very hard for the opponent to know what you're doing when you play Coulson, whereas Kate Bishop is always giving you 2 cards. There's only 4 to choose from. Coulson has hundreds of possibilities. Iron Patriot has hundreds of possibilities. That extra unpredictability, anyone who's played against Arishem knows is extremely strong. Like, let's say you get a random Legion. Your opponent has absolutely no way to deal with that, play around it, plan for it. Frigga has several key targets here. The main ones are Victoria Hand, just as a 2/3 play, obviously incredibly strong. You can also end up copying Iron Patriot. That's the other major copy here. You end up copying not Iron Patriot, the card discounted from Iron Patriot. Sometimes Copycat is something broken. It's pretty good to copy a 3/5 Iron Man, a 3/5 Null, for example. Or Rogue can do a similar thing where you would not be against copying that either. Like if an opponent drops Victoria Hand on 2, you Rogue it and then you Frigga it, you just real ahead at that point. Copycat, obviously is one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. Period. Again, I think it's fallen down a tier with the rise of other threes. I think there are other threes that are as good as it now, but it is still an incredibly strong card. It's another one that gives you cube equity. This is like cube equity the deck. You play Moon Girl, they don't know what you doubled. They're probably looking for a She-Hulk, right? You play Iron Patriot, they don't know what you made. You play Agent Coulson, they don't know what you made. Maria Hill, same thing. Copycat copied something, they don't even know you have it, and then all of a sudden it's an absolute cube thief. Moon Girl is here, much the same way as Frigga. Get yourself an extra Victoria hand, get yourself an extra Iron Patriot card, make your collector big, get cheaper versions of your cards with Quinjet. They're all generated, and all those generated cards benefit from that Quinjet, which is just crazy strong. You combine these cards, and all of a sudden you're just left with something wild. This deck does run Quinjet for energy, but it does not run Wiccan, which means you're probably going to have a bunch of cards left in hand. If you have a bunch of cards left in hand, Devil Dino is one of the biggest cards. Devil Dino, especially if you can end up playing one last generator at the end of the game, is often going to end up like 13, 15, even 17 power, which is, I don't know, lane swingingly gigantic. It is also notable that Devil Dino, unlike Gore, who's in a lot of these lists, Gore will be bigger, right? But Devil Dino, costing only 5, lets you play one of Kate's arrows or Maria Hill card if you'll quench it out or whatever else, and the same turn, and thus gives you that extra utility of being able to spread your power out across 2 lanes. And like, remember, with Victoria Hand, you're playing like a 13 to 15 power Devil Dino, and then you're playing like a 1/6, 1/7 in another lane. So that's really crazy. All right, so this list peaked at rank 3. I believe it is currently around rank 11, but it has been floating around the top 10 basically all week at 3K CL. Wildly impressive at that low level. So again, if you can access this type of deck, if you can access these cards, you should 1000% play this list. And I personally would try and figure out how to do something with Moon Girl if I did not have Frigga with this shell. Because there's no super special reason that Moon Girl has to happen on turn 4. Like, it's not like you're running She-Hulk, right, where you need to pass 5. You can Moon Girl just fine on turn 5 fairly often. All right, so turn 1 you want Quinjet over Maria Hill. Turn 2 Victoria Hand to Frigga is better than Iron Patriot. Victoria Hand into Frigga is insane. Yes, it's better than Iron Patriot. Turn 2 Iron Patriot is then the next play, which is over Collector, and Collector could go up if Moon Girl. A lot of what changes in this deck as far as your plays go, and you're going to have to learn this through experience, is what cards you want to play when you're considering Moon Girl. Remember, you have to keep your hand size managed if you want to Moon Girl more than 1 or 2 cards, and you want to make sure that the right cards are in those spots. You want to remember that you're trying to copy a Victoria Hand, you're trying to copy an Iron Patriot card, so on and so forth. Turn 3, you can play, obviously, Frigga for hand, or whichever 3 wins the Iron Patriot lane most consistently, whatever makes sense. Agent Coulson makes sense as well, but you don't usually want to Coulson if you're planning on Moon Girling. You'd rather play a 2 or something else. Turn 4 is Moon Girl, or not a turn 3, corrected by the creator of the list, or 2 2s. This is a good point to go Collector and Iron Patriot, or drop a Victoria hand with Iron Patriot. So in different lanes, please, with ideally Victoria hand second, because at that point you can still frig on 5. It's really hard, however, according to the deck's creator, to go hand and Frigga on 5 because then it's hard to generate. But if you go hand as your second card on turn 4, you can then copy that on turn 5, especially again if you have Quinjet out, and then generate enough cards with your other 2 energy, think Kate Bishop, in order to still be effective. You can also play Dino on this turn if you're really sure your opponent doesn't have an ongoing counter. You can play the first of the generated cards here, or you can start generating more cards. You can also do Iron Patriot card in Frigga because that's often cheap enough to really, really be effective. Turn 6 is you can just do a bunch of generated stuff, and that's obviously hard to define, but you can also do Dino +1, or you can play tech cards like Rogue or Copycat. Cool. Hopefully this all makes sense to you. I think that this is one of the coolest lists around, and huge props to Dark Razer for coming up with it. We're going to look at a Bullseye list next that runs Hela, which is really cool. But first, one last look at this work of art. Props to Dark Razer. Hopefully your streams go super great as well. We are giving away a season pass this week. We will announce that season pass winner on Sunday's video, assuming that nothing goes completely crazy. So please be ready for that season pass winner announcement on Sunday's video. Get yourselves ready. There will be a question I ask momentarily that you will be able to answer in order to enter to win that season pass, as long as you are following the channel, sub to the channel. So weekend review of Bullseye. Bullseye is the 3/3. Activate, discard all cards that cost 1 or less from your hand. Afflict that many different cards, enemy cards with -2 power. All right. People are all over the place with Bullseye. Some top players think this card is completely broken. Right before recording, Abra was like, I think Bullseye might be broken. It's possible, right? Bullseye is a very good card. I don't think it's broken. I think it is very good. I think it's hard to recommend Bullseye if you don't own a lot of other high series stuff, right? But Bullseye is seemingly real with Daken. I've not liked it with Daken nearly as much as I like it with and the name of the card now escapes me, with Victoria Hand at nearly as much. But it's still a powerful combo if you have the right things to go with it. I think this is a low level buy, right? If you opened for Victoria Hand, if you opened for Moonstone, unless you're swimming in resources, I think this is a safe skip. But it leads to at least good decks to very good decks. However, again, it's worth noting that when top players are playing with this, the more they play with it, the more they're liking it. We're going to check back for a last chance review at the end of the weekend, but for now, this is a borderline card, not a go get it, oh my god. And like, remember, Moonstone and Victoria Hand were both oh my god, go get them cards. Before that, what was the last oh my god, go get it card? Doom 2099, yeah. So like every week is not this is just a very good card, I think, which means you're fine to get it if you enjoy that type of gameplay, that type of deck. Remember to check yesterday's video for the Alex Kochia list, which is the one that most people are just playing casually and having a lot of success with. It's the easiest to play. It's the smoothest list. It requires like the least extra stuff to do. So if you're interested in that, please do check out that list and use that as your guideline. Do I feel like I can play that list? Do I really want that list? If you don't have MODOK, don't bother, right? If you don't have the season pass to get Daken, don't bother. If you don't have Victoria Hand, if you don't have these cards, it's not worth it. But if you have all of them and you're interested in this list, it gives you lists that you can't otherwise play. That's what's really pushing it up for me. That and like Safety and Abra and a few other people just that play it more and more are liking it more and more. So maybe it's there. Maybe it gets there by the end of the weekend. I just don't think I'm quite there yet. All right. Oops. Next up, we've got Kenzai. This is from our friend Super Tech God. That's right, the Super Variant God, the man who owns every variant in Marvel Snap. You should absolutely check out the stream of. He created this Hela Ajax list that is completely freaking wild. Hela Ajax and Bullseye. I didn't think this combination would work, but hey, they redid Hela and it's really cool. It's also got Victoria Hand and all sorts of stuff. So you can find Super Tech God at youtube.com/@SuperTechGod. This deck needs Scorn, X23, Bullseye, Victoria Hand, Bullseye again, and Ajax. If you got Kate Bishop here can be Coulson, though again, if you got Victoria Hand, I'm assuming you got Kate. Scorn is probably the card that you're most likely looking for. X23, everyone will get free relatively soon, it seems like. Corvus can be Gambit. That's not ideal, but it is doable. Ajax is another card that people are struggling for a little bit, but here's a quick reminder. Next week, January 28th, is the Ajax bundle. 3,000 collector's tokens, 3,500 credits, $50. This is the best value bundle for a Series 4 or 5 card. If you need Ajax, I strongly recommend, if you can afford it in any way, shape, or form, that you get this bundle. I think it's absolutely worth it. It's basically giving you a Series 5 card and enough to get a Series 4 card with it, which puts you halfway toward that scoring you would need for this list, right? Okay. Turn 1, you pass. Turn 2, Collector over Victoria Hand, which is more or less equal to Kate. And Kate is especially good if you're going to Corvus next. Turn 3, Bullseye or Corvus. Corvus is your goal here, but you have to be careful because you really don't want to truck Bullseye. And that's better than Swordmaster of Ajax, and that's better than Luke. As a general rule, although sometimes you'll play Luke over Ajax because Swordmaster could just hit Luke, and that's a little annoying. Turn 4, you can do the same thing as 3. If you played your Corvus and you got enough to play Ajax, Ajax is perfectly fine here. You can also trigger Bullseye whenever you have enough ones or need the X23 energy from this point on. Turn 5, you play Ajax or Hela, nice and simple. Sometimes you're going to play some earlier stuff, get the extra couple discards before you play Hela as well. If you end up playing a Swordmaster here, that's fine. If you end up playing a Bullseye here, that's fine. Cards like that are totally acceptable. And then you can also do those with K, by the way. And then assuming you have enough energy, because you should be triggering Bullseye on turn 4 or 5 if possible. You can do it on turn 6 if you must, but on turn 4 or 5 if possible, in order to try and get X23 out for that extra energy. So you're going to get an extra energy from either X23 or Corvus. You go Ajax plus Hazmat because 7 energy, or you go Hela plus a reasonably big Scorn. And that's usually enough to win the game. We're going to look one last time at this, and then we're going to look at a new dude I've heard of. We're spotlighting a new creator named Ika. So check out this list from the great Super Tech God, and let's get to, just a reminder, I'll be live on Twitch and YouTube at 3:30 p.m. Eastern-ish today, so please make sure you come hang out and check that out. It would mean a lot if you came by and said hello. Show some love, show some support. All right, our season pass question. It's Friday night. What you doing? The reason I'm streaming nice and early is so I can spend some time with my wife. I've been streaming every day, and that means I haven't spent nearly as much time with my wonderful wife. So that is my Friday night plans. What are you doing? Cool. Please check out a stream at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. Next up, we got Ika Sarah. This is a control list. This list says, I'm sick of all this shit. Everyone's playing Move Bounce. Everyone's playing all these like swarm lists that are putting a million cards on the board on the last turn. Everyone's playing card generation where like they're playing like giant arrows and such. Everyone's playing Iron Man combo nonsense, giant Morbiuses. I don't want to deal with any of that anymore, says Ika, and thus this list, which runs Shadow King, tech card, Killmonger, tech card, Mobius, tech card, Red Guardian, tech card, Shang-Chi, tech card, Enchantress, tech card. That's 6 tech cards. Ghost and Malekith operate as tech card enablers. Fenris as a tech card benefitor. And then Sarah, so you can play some damn cards. Wild. And then Iron Patriot, because Iron Patriot's freaking busted as a generally good 2-drop. Wild how many of these we're running with from Ika here. You can find Ika at twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. I think you need Fenris and Malekith for this list. You can try without Malekith. I'm not sure what I'd replace it with. Maybe Invisible Woman. That's the real problem. What Malekith's real value is in this list is this list really wants Sarah. Like super badly wants Sarah so it can do cool things on the last turn. Malekith on form, if you haven't drawn Sarah, gives you 1 draw closer to Sarah. There's not another card that does that you really want to play in the list, unfortunately. You can't Jubilee a control list. So Gladiator here can be Negasonic or Juggernaut. Iron Patriot can be Cable. You'll be fine there. Mobius can be whatever Gladiator replacement or Luke Cage, just for an extra tech card. I wish it could be Cosmo, but I don't think it can. And Red Guardian can be Rogue. So turn 1, you pass. Turn 2, Iron Patriot is over Fenris, although if you have a clear curve where you're going to go Ghost into Malekith into Sarah and those cards are in hand, then you might want to get Fenris out on turn 2 because you can't play Fenris on turn 6. You can play Iron Patriot on turn 6. You're not going to get the benefit, but the Fenris benefit tends to be better for this list in particular. Then we've got Ghost on turn 3 as my general, like, this is just what you do play. You can also drop Gladiator, particularly if you're trying to win an Iron Patriot lane badly and you don't have Malekith. Or you can drop Morbius or Red Guardian when you think they win the game. Opponent's got a Naked Victoria hand, feel free to drop a Red Guardian on that. Opponent is discarding Swarms already, drop a Morbius and Snap, right? Or they played a Ravonna, drop a Morbius. You get the idea. Turn 4 Malekith, especially if there's no Serra in the list, is better than turn 3 play. Sorry, if there's no Serra in the list. If there's no Serra in your hand is the word I was looking for, is better than turn 3 play. Fenris must be here if you have Serra. If you're going to play Serra on 5, even if you think you might play Serra on 5, and you have any way to kill something that you want to bring back, you have to play Fenris on 4. Turn 5 is Serra, or is better than a 3+2, and then turn 6 is go off. You can play Control Cards or Gladiator, or Control Cards with Gladiator, and then trigger the Wolf. One last look at this. This is mean. This list is mean. Ika, you are a mean, mean Canadian Georgian man. So enjoy this list as much as Ika enjoys torturing people with it. If you'd like to see gameplay from all these lists, please check out the stream team tonight at 9 to 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern, where the Pirate King Tucker will be, as he does rarely now, playing Marvel Snap to give these lists a try. Go check out the Pirate King, please. King of Canada will have a YouTube video up with yesterday's decks. Questions of the day. Focalt asks what title I would add to the game. With great power comes great responsibility. The Man Without Fear. What's the Fantastic Four one? It's now escaping me. The First Family. Hated and feared. I don't know why there's all these bullshit ones and there's none of the classic Marvel ones. Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I want the classic Marvel taglines as titles. The titles in the game are terrible and I hate them. Give me the cool taglines. A bunch of people have spent a lot of time over the past few days going, what card should I get? What card should I get? What card should I get? What card you should get is you should wait. There is an OTA coming next Thursday. I believe that if you're not, you should almost always spend your tokens, if you're spending tokens, literally as soon after the OTA is humanly possible. Cool? As soon as you have a good idea of what's good and what you want to build and play after the OTA, that's when you should be specifically getting your buy on. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. If right before the last OTA, right, a week before, it was like, I'm buying Scream and Hydra Bob. I got 12,000 tokens. Oh yeah. You feel pretty bad, right? You get it as soon after as possible, so you have as long to play with that card before the next set of changes as possible. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I'm going to say thank you to Abigail Giesland. Hey, Abigail. Mandatory Burnout, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Dirty Casual, LAB, Foth, Thor Newman, check him out on YouTube and Twitch, Inc. I am Frostman. What's up, Frostman, who's watching me do this live? Hota Navarrete, YOLO Potato, Yolo Potato, I believe, is here as well. Hi, Potato. Thinking Poker of the Thinking Poker podcast. Primed Ryan, who's sponsoring Snap Judgments League Season 5. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Keratix Lee, the King of Questions, Koire, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Pyrofros, the Goat Seeker, who it wasn't here tonight, but has been lately. Hollowed, Synth, thanks for watching, Synth. Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Fat Dick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Ratco, Haplo, Ratco, who stood me up today. Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra C and Skibby G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, Sloosh Diff, King of Bros, Bruh, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, hi Werewolf, joined a bit late tonight, but how you doing, Werewolf? Kev, Sihora, Luna, Lunacris, Corbin, Junk Q, Jim McCube, Cube Town, Clam, Forbin, who's been hanging out all night, thank you, Forbin, Stout, 8th Sage, Models, Mod Supreme, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, Steven, Brian Kaufman, what's up, Kaufman? Tristan H. Martin, Jason B. Only Fox, what's up, Fox? The Fuzzing Up, Spectrumix, Woot, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, The Great Oculars, how you doing, Aku? Watching right now as well. Mr. Craig Sterry, who left a comment yesterday on something, and then I went to look for it and could not find it. It's a pain in the ass. BG, Zodrex, the King of Canada, Den Man Falcon, what's up, Den Man? Jonesy, how you doing, Jonesy? Two Ties, who wears two ties? The great Lauren Rebs, the Pirate King Tucker, who you should watch tonight, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for I'll see you in that stream in a few hours, friends. Catch you then. Peace.